Hello and welcome. I'm Tammy from Vibrant Women, and I just wanted to create this short video for you to explain a little bit about our business and what happens when you book in for a tour or retreat with us and you pay your deposit and what happens to that money from then on. Now, I'm sure some of you are already, I can tell that you're already aware of all of this, but for people that don't know, when we receive a deposit from you, we use that deposit to purchase services in your name, such as flights, cruises, accommodation, and then guides. Use it for activity deposits, entrance fees, things like that. So once we receive the money, we pretty much need to secure those services straight away. Otherwise, we won't be able to accommodate you. Now, every country we visit is different. So I'm making this video to try and help you to see what we're doing in the background to try and support you around the tours that you have booked in for 2020. Some locations we book things individually, and some places we use an on-the-ground organiser who we pay a deposit to, and then they pay all of those little individual bits and pieces, deposits for accommodation, buses, etc. So what's happened is with our contractors, we have contracts, we have agreements, legal contracts about how they're going to use that money, and for the most part there is a period of time where that money can be refunded to us, in some cases up to 120 days before. If we take refunds from these people, though, it does mean that they haven't been paid for their work and time that they've put into booking all of this for us. So sometimes they will have like a 10% administration fee, something like that, which is fine. But what's happened now with the COVID-19 is that no one is honouring their contracts. So just because it's difficult times, and again, this is a blanket statement, but every country is different, and within every country, every airline is different. And so in Morocco, I'm dealing with Royal Air Morocco, who just won't respond to me at all with all the 4 flights we've booked for everybody on that tour. And then we've got the other one, Air Arabia, which have been fantastic and just said that they can, postpone, transfer the dates for it. So everywhere's different. There's not one thing happening across the board. So it's we've been constantly negotiating and trying to contact all of our providers over this time. So in addition to your deposit, for some places, we also have paid in full. So perhaps 3 to 4 times what you paid us, we've paid out on your behalf in advance. Fingers crossed that everything will go okay. Now, you might think that's a bit silly to do that, but of course we haven't had an issue with that in the 9 years we've been functioning. And if you've been on a tour with us, you'll know that we don't stay at the Ibis Hotel near the airport. I like to have unique accommodation and good guides. It's not just a big group tour where you'll just get whatever guides available on the day. So yeah, sometimes we need to pay in full, 30%, 50% or 100% to secure what we need on our tours. So we take insurance, business insurance, of course. So what's happened with that at the moment is when I contact them to say we've paid over $70,000 in future bookings for next year, and no one's offering to return any of that money to us. About 80% people are offering postponement, and then probably 90%, and then a few people are just refusing to negotiate with us at all. So we're bearing those costs and not passing them on to you. And also nearly everyone's put their prices up. So we're also bearing those costs and not passing them on to you if you're someone who's postponed a trip. So what our insurance providers are telling us is that we had a contract with these third-party providers, and that if they're not honouring those contracts because of force majeure, which is what they're all citing now, which means that something has occurred outside of their control, so they can no longer honour that contract. We also have a right to use that when dealing with our guests and other people that we sort of also perhaps have been paying money to or whatever. But yeah, we haven't used that at this stage. So they're telling me that my insurance won't cover that and that it's a legal issue because they're not honouring their contract. So I would need to contact a lawyer and get this lawyer to take legal action in probably 7 different countries. You can't do it in Australia. You have to go to the country where it's occurred. So I could go to Spain and say, you know, about that $12,000 I've paid you, hand it back. Morocco, $20,000. So I don't know what the Morocco legal system's like, but it's probably not realistic for me to be, or viable for me to be pursuing that in that way. So just in case you think that we've got your deposit, we're keeping it and we're living the high life. We're not. We're worried about it. We're working really hard to try and where people aren't able to postpone, to try and think of a workaround for that. But I just wanted you to know that how difficult it is for us. Fortunately, nearly all of our bookings were, you would have booked by the end of last year, most people. So before the 20th of January, and every travel insurance provider is different. But our travel insurance provider, Travel with Jane, did have some clauses for people who booked travel insurance before the 20th of January. I know some people are not honouring anything, but of course, this is why you took your travel insurance. But none of us expected to have a pandemic of this type. Now, I've been running my business, as I said, for 9 years, so we've seen quite a few things happen in that time. You know, we've had SARS and MERS and Ebola, and also I still can't donate blood in Australia because I was in the UK 25 years ago when mad cows disease, I think that's what it was called, weird, was happening. I didn't get it myself, although I'm sure some of you might be wondering occasionally. So, you know, these things have been happening. It's not new. You know, I've had a group in Bangkok when there's been riots in the streets. We've been to Bali when Mount Agung has been erupting. There's been lots of things that have challenged us over the years. However, I just want you to know that my passion for travel and for what I do has been so strong that we've kind of weathered those storms to the best of our ability. But this is really kind of on a new level for us. So what happens when you ask us for a refund is that we don't have that money. So we're taking it, we have to take it out of our own pockets. And in many cases, we've already paid more than your deposit, sometimes up to 4 times more. That's only 1 or 2 countries. The most expensive ones, of course, because they want, it's peak season and it's very busy and we want the good hotels. I want the good guides. I want the good bus with the microphone that works. You know, I want VIP ticketing so we don't have to wait in line. These are all the things I want for you. So I pay in advance, you know, so that you get it. So we don't actually have that money. We're not making, and the way things work is for our income, for Cheryl and myself, is that we don't actually get paid for a tour until that tour is completed. So we kind of do the work in advance, doing the web page, the payment pathways, all of the booking processes and all of the administration and the accounting and the contacts and the helping with the trip notes and the helping people sort their visas and flights and, you know, all of that work that we do, the sort of administration side, is done in advance of the tour. Sort of weird. Anyway, we hold your money in a separate account, any money you've paid, so we're not dipping into that because I'm very cautious about having that in case you do cancel. We have to return that money to you, some of that money. So it means that all the work we've done for the tours for 2020, we won't be paid for now because they're not going ahead. Okay, and in addition to that, yeah, well, 2021, we won't be paid for those tours until when they occur down the track. So all of the work that we're doing, trying to resolve this for you, is unpaid, and we're actually out of pocket as a result, which is what all travel agents and tour operators are currently running under. We are not charging, we don't have like a cancellation fee because we're not holding your deposits anymore. So I haven't kept any money for ourselves, for our admin or our time, just so that you know that in case, you know, you think that that's what's been occurring. And also some countries I just haven't been able to bring myself to ask for a return of some of the funds that we paid them, just because I know they're struggling and they don't have the kind of welfare systems that we have. So just sort of on compassionate grounds, we're going to wear that expense ourselves personally, just because, you know, we care about these people and we have a relationship with them. The other thing that you might like to know, sorry to bombard you, is that when you cancel a tour, that raises the price for everybody else on that tour. Okay, these are all who would do this job. It's just insane, very stressful. So if you, so for example, if we're going to Greece, we have a bus and a bus driver that costs 1,500 Australian dollars a day, approximately. And that's to cover his accommodation, food, and the bus, and water on the bus, and petrol, and, you know, snacks or whatever. And so what happens is say for ease, we've got 10 people, so we divide that by 10. This is just the ground transport, not ferries, not flights that we also have on these tours, but just the bus to get us around. So 10 people, so that's $150 a day over 10 days, for example. Just because I'm trying to calculate in my head quickly, that's $1,500 per person, approximately. So some costs on retreats and tours are individual, like your accommodation, meals, entry fees. But some things like the tour guide, the transport, we divide between the group, okay? So, so that's $1,500 for Greece, for example, before you add on any accommodation, which is around $300 a night, before you add on the guide, also has to be divided. So anyway, if one person drops out, then the price for the other 9 people for the bus, for the guide, actually goes up. So just so that you know that, now we just absorb that cost. We can't pass it on to you because we've already quoted a price for that tour and people have booked in and we honour that. So we're not going to say, oh look, you know, such and such has pulled out, so I'm sorry, each of you, your trip has to go up an extra $200 to $300. We just don't do that. But that's just something that I thought you should know in this whole situation when we're talking about what we're doing with money and refunds in general. What we've done for future bookings, and I'm sorry, I know you know as much as I do about when what's happening in the world and when a vaccine's going to be developed and all of that. I really cannot tell you what's going to happen in 2021. So Yeah, I'm sorry, it's uncertain. At this stage, we have to proceed thinking that things will be resolved in the next 12 months. Our first tour is in March next year. So we're hoping things will be resolved by then and that there's some sort of safe resolution for travel. If not, we've had such trouble already, it's highly unlikely that we're going to get any money back, and people will be even more desperate than they were. So again, contact your travel insurance provider if you're thinking that you want to circumvent that early. But of course, we'll do whatever we can to try and resolve that at the time, but we really don't know how that's going to play out. What's also happening is, strangely, we still have people booking in for tours. What's going on? I think I've had 8 new bookings in the last 2 weeks. This is for overseas tours. Good on you, I think people, they just can't wait. So what we're doing, and also we had some tours that were fully booked, so a spot came up, so people have sort of nabbed those. Anyway, what we're doing now, and I'm sorry, this can't apply to existing bookings because, as you know now, that money has already left our hands. But for future bookings, we're just not securing any accommodation or guides or anything. We'll have to deal with that down the track, and we're just holding that money for you. So we've got a no risk deposit system in place for new bookings for 2021. So let me look at my little list of things that I wanted to try and tell you about, because it's quite difficult for me to respond to emails person by person explaining about the refund process to people. I think that's it. So if you've got any questions about what happens when you pay us your deposit, where that money goes, what we're doing with it, and why it's difficult for us to offer refunds, please let me know. I hope that this has gone some way to just providing some information. I'm aware it's not good news, but I just really appreciate that I have a very supportive network, because I'm a member of many travel agent tour operator groups, and I can see what's happening to some people. And yeah, it's quite distressing across the board in the travel sector. And of course, we've got no income, so we're working unpaid and out of pocket and trying to really do the best we can for the people who travel with us. So I hope that you're feeling that and sensing that from our communications. And as I said, if you have any questions about any of this, please contact me. We endeavour to respond within one day to all of our emails and phone calls that we get, even if it means sitting in a gutter in India with earplugs in while crazy tuk-tuks are going by me. That's what I was doing in March when this first started happening. So yeah, just contact us. And I know that people are struggling too, that you girls are struggling as well, that everyone is. So I just am taking the benefits that I can of seeing the world healing and nature healing and all of that, and drawing on strength from your support and from my community and my networks and my practices to keep myself healthy, so that I can continue to support you and have fabulous times with you into the future. All right, take care, and please contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.